About 10 years ago, I had a divine appointment. I met Pastor Jose in India, and I'm just going to share the short version of the story because some of you don't know, but Family Life, we're an international ministry. We have 320 Family Life churches spread all over northern India and Nepal with 60,000 regular members. And about 10 years ago, when I met Pastor Jose, he had sold everything he had and moved from southern India all the way to northern India, where it's 0.5% Christian. India, I don't know, it depends on which study you use, but in the next 3 to 7 years, they're going to be the largest country in the world, surpassing China, just blowing by China. And so they're in one of the most populous regions in the world, where only 0.5% of people are Christians. And so when I met Jose, he had been working for 17 years, and they had started 40 churches and had about 8,000 people. And I don't know why. It's a divine appointment. God spoke to me and told me that we were supposed to help them, and that I was supposed to be the mouthpiece for them. They had no support from anywhere else, no support. And it's a long story. We've bought them a buffalo farm, and they sell milk and make about $10,000 every month, American dollars, selling the milk. And they have a huge ministry over there. As a matter of fact, our Family Life churches in in Nepal, is the second largest ministry in Nepal. And as a matter of fact, in 5 years, our Family Life church will be the largest in Nepal. And so God told me, I want you to help them. In a close to 10 years, you're going to help them get to where they need to be. And so we've been helping them for 10 years, and they've gone from 40 churches to 325 churches, and 40,000 people have gotten saved in the last 10 years. So we have a goal to get to 500 churches. In every church that we start, they have a mandate, they have a commitment that once they're solidified and can support themselves, they start another church. So it's very possible in my lifetime that we have 1,000 churches in India and Nepal with 100,000 people. It's very, very possible. Personally, our church has given $800,000 to India in the last 10 years. And people ask me sometimes, I meet churches that are larger than us and they can't afford buildings and things. And they say, well, Terry, how you did that? It's like, well, you're not giving enough to missions. Because when you give to missions, God makes sure you have the funds to do what you want to do. We've bought them. They have 3 pieces of land. They have land where they grow food. They grow tons of rice for their orphanage and their pastors around. They have a facility where they have a Bible college, where they have right now 266 orphan children that have no parents. As a matter of fact, 18 of our pastors in Nepal and India have died since COVID. And some of them, the mother and the father died, and Jose took their kids into the orphanage. And these kids would have been on the streets. They would have been sold as sex trafficking. And they're the pipeline for the ministry. These kids grow up, and many of them go to Bible college and become pastors to plant new churches. And so anyway, everything is going really well. And we ran into a bump here the last month. And so basically, Pastor Jose, the government gives them a hard time because they're Christian. And it's a Hindu nation. It's a Hindu government. And so because of COVID, they have 266 kids, but they're not all at the main facility all the time because the village where that's at doesn't have a high school. So all the teenagers, they go, and we rent space for them to go to get an education in this village over here, and they're spread out. Well, because of COVID, all the kids are back in the dormitory. And so the government has come in and said that we're going to revoke your license unless you have to give them specific things, like you have to build a whole second floor on your facility. You have to have a 12 by 12 room for every 4 students, which I'm just going to be honest with you, is better than everyone over there is living. Better than 80% of the people in India are living. And Pastor Joe said, well, what am I going to do if I can't do that? He says, well, you have to get rid of the kids. He's like, what do you want me to do with them? He said, go put them back on the street where you got them from. And, so anyway, I said, okay, Pastor, get a contractor to come in and see what it's going to cost. I mean, you have to finish the first floor with these 12 by 12 rooms, build a whole nother second story. They have a big cafeteria area, but they said it's not adequate. You have to have new stoves and refrigerators and all this stuff. And they have 4 acres of property for the kids to run on. But they said you have to have certain playground equipment. And so when the number came in, it was really astronomical. It was $275,000. And my first thing, I said, Jose, man, I don't know what to tell you, because I don't have $275,000 to give you, and so every couple of days he texts me. That man calls me so much stress sometimes. If you're watching, Jose, you calls me stress, brother. And he says, what to do? He just texts me what to do. If I knew what to do, I would tell you, right? And so I'm like, well, man, maybe God has another way. And of course, my better half, Tracy, says, well, we have to do something. So I spent the week of prayer and fasting, praying about it, and just talking to some people. And one of my best friends, who's a godly man, and I told him this. He said, Terry, now isn't a good time with COVID and all. And it really I got mad, because my God is bigger than COVID. I am sick of COVID being an excuse for everything. It cannot be an excuse for everything. And I'm not saying if you need to stay home because you have medical conditions, but a lot of people are using COVID as an excuse to get out of fellowship, as an excuse not to go to church. And we've got to be big. We serve an everlasting God. And so I got bold for a minute. I started thinking about this. And, let me tell you a principle that has changed my life, and I think it'll change your life. God has told me this: don't ask me for something unless if you're willing to do something yourself. I hear people all the time asking, I'm praying, quit, you don't need to pray anymore, do something. Do something. And I don't mean that unspiritual, but God, I believe He puts it in our heart to do. And so this is what I decided to do. I was praying about this. And so $275,000. The project will take 8 months. They gave them a year to do it. And so we don't have to have all the money right now. So last year, we've been saving up for 4 years to renovate our student center. And it's going to be state of the art for all of our students and college kids. And we'd saved up money to do that, to pay cash for that. And of course, we didn't do it because of COVID and anyway, all that. And so I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to step out in faith. So I wired Jose $100,000 last week to start. So they bought all the supplies, they bought all that. And man, I have to tell you, I love the life of faith. I love the life of faith because it challenges you to believe for bigger than what we can see. And so I did that, and we did that, and then the Lord told me this. He said, look, He said, Terry, you're going to have to do something that you don't like. Again? He said, you're going to have to ask people to give. And if you know me, I mean, we teach our people to tithe. If you're a Christian and you're not tithing, you should find a church and you should give the first tenth to God to honor Him. And if you do that, He'll bless you. But I mean, we take up, our offerings on the wall back there because I don't want money to be about church, to be about money. But so he said, you're going to have to ask us. And the Lord told me this: I'm going to send 20 families who will pledge to give $5,000. That's $100,000. And some businesses are going to give, and you're going to get to the 275. So again, God asked you to act. He asked me to act. And so Tracy and I, we wrote the first $5,000 check. I just started talking to people, and in 1 week, I had $80,000 pledged. In 1 week. And so that, We have 4 churches involved, several businesses involved, several of our church families, a number of them that are involved. And here's what I want to ask. What I want to ask is this, well, I'm going to ask you to give money. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to ask you to give money. No, I'm just kidding. So I put pledge cards. Pledge cards are in your bulletin, and they're out there by the offering boxes. And I want everyone to be involved in this. We have some college students that wanted to pledge $500. 3 college students together pledged $500 for the year. You can pledge monthly. Hey, I can do this year, this much a month for the year, or I can just do it at one time. Many of you know that in January I talked about a great project that we started. We're calling it the COVID Miracle. We started in India, where if you don't know, we have 320 churches, family life churches, all over India and Nepal, with about 60,000 members. Since we've been working over there, about 40,000 people have given their lives to the Lord. And they have an orphanage, they have a Bible college, they plant churches. Pastor Jose, he usually comes here once a year, but obviously this year he couldn't come. And they got in a bind, and the government was going to shut them down, and they needed basically $75,000 to add on to their orphanage facility, or they were going to shut them down. And so we started off, I just prayed during the week of prayer and fasting, because I'm like, okay, I don't have that much money. If I did, I would just give it. And the Lord really impressed on my heart that we're supposed to do this. So when the Lord tells us to do something, we just have to have faith. And many Christians never get to that point that you have to have faith, which means you have to do something not knowing the end result. Okay? And so let's show. They're going to put a graph up. So this is where we're at. We have already in 2 months, $213,000 have come in. And so, which still means we're about $62,000 away. So I know some people have pledged, and they're going to be given monthly. So if you're doing that, that's still important every month that you do that. If you haven't had a chance to give, you can still do that. If you're online and you want to do that, you can. Maybe you know some people, and honestly, there are some people who have a lot of money, and they're looking for opportunities to give, good opportunities. And so all these kids, 265 kids in the orphanage, they're all rescued off the streets, out of slave trafficking. I don't know of a better place to give to. So everything that comes in for India will go to India. So anyway, isn't that awesome?